Hello friends, it's Olga, and today I'm going to show you how to make this absolutely stunning chocolate ricotta cheesecake. It also has a chocolate sour cream topping and raspberries, and this one is so luscious and velvety smooth. I just love it. I'm going to start by making the crust for the cheesecake. I'm using shortbread cookies here, but you can also use graham crackers or vanilla wafers, and I really like the texture and the taste that they give the crust. So I'm going to start by making these cookies into crumbs, and I'm going to do that by putting them into a Ziploc bag. You can also use the food processor for this, but this is faster and I've got less dishes to wash. But the food processor is a little bit less wasteful. So I'm just going to dump them in here and then use my rolling pin to make them into crumbs. So now that we've got the cookies into fine crumbs, we're going to add the rest of the ingredients right into the bag and mix it up. So first of all, I've got unsweetened cocoa powder, then I have some sugar, a little bit of salt, and lastly melted butter. Close the bag and just mix it up. For a cheesecake, you need to use a springform pan. So what it is, it comes apart like this. And if you don't use one, then you're not going to be able to take the cheesecake out later. If you just want to serve it right in the pan, that's fine, but otherwise you won't be able to take it out. So I buttered it first before I even started, and I've got my oven preheated to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're just going to dump all of these crust ingredients into the pan, and then I'm going to press the crumbs into the bottom and a little bit up the sides of the pan. And I like using the bottom of a measuring cup to help me press it in because it does a much better job than my hands do, and it's even, plus my hands don't get as dirty. Once I've got the crumbs pressed into the pan, I'm gonna bake it for about 8 minutes. I'm going to start mixing the cheesecake batter in the standing mixer. You can also use a hand mixer for this, and I'm using cream cheese, ricotta cheese, and sour cream. And this is going to create a really luscious and very tender cheesecake, which I love. So make sure that your cream cheese and eggs are at room temperature, because otherwise when you're mixing up the cream cheese, you're not going to be able to get it perfectly smooth. This is really important for a cheesecake because of course we want it to have a really smooth texture. And if the cream cheese is too cold, then it'll have little white flecks in the cheesecake, and since we're making a chocolate cheesecake, it's going to be more noticeable. So we're going to mix that up with the sugar, mix the cream cheese just until it's smooth, and then add the ricotta and the sour cream. Now we're going to add the vanilla and the eggs, and I'm going to add the eggs in one at a time. Lastly, we're going to add the dry ingredients to the cheesecake, and I just have 2 tablespoons of flour, just all-purpose flour, a little bit of salt, and cocoa powder. Now cocoa powder has a tendency to be lumpy. I don't know if you can see in here, there's lumps in there, and they're not going to mix in well. So I'm going to use a fine mesh sieve to sift the cocoa powder right into the batter. I'll mix in the flour first and then add the cocoa powder. Do you see how fine it looks now? And all of that would be really hard to mix in. Use a rubber spatula to scrape down the sides of the bowl to make sure that all of the ingredients are mixed in and you don't have any ingredients that aren't mixed on the bottom. Meanwhile, the cheesecake crust has baked and cooled off, and I'm going to pour in the batter right over it and smooth it out. Bake in the preheated oven for about 40 minutes. When we're baking a cheesecake, of course we all want it to have that perfectly smooth top without any cracks in it, and here are a few ways to prevent it. First of all, like I was telling you earlier, it's important to start with room temperature ingredients. If the cream cheese is too cold, it's going to take much longer to mix it so it's even and smooth. And the more you mix it, the more air you're going to incorporate into it, and that causes cracks in a cheesecake. And then try not to mix it too long when you're adding all the ingredients in. Over baking the cheesecake can also cause it to crack. So check the cheesecake, and there should still be a little jiggle in the center when you shake it a bit, and turn it off right away because it's still going to continue baking even after you turn it off. Sudden temperature changes can also cause the cheesecake to crack. So I've had this happen to me before where the cheesecake looked perfect. It was so nice and even. And then I took it out of the oven right away, and then I come back later and I look and there's a crack in the middle. What I like to do is to turn off the oven and then prop open the oven door so that it cools off gradually before taking it out of the oven. For the chocolate sour cream glaze, mix the sour cream, sugar, and unsweetened cocoa powder in a small saucepan and use a whisk to mix it until it's smooth. Put it on the stovetop and turn it on medium-low heat and simmer it for a few minutes until the sugar dissolves and the glaze thins out to a syrupy consistency. Whisk in the butter. Cooling the cake completely before taking it out of the springform pan will help it to come out very cleanly, and you'll have nice even edges. Pour the chocolate glaze on top of the cheesecake and spread it out. You can have it drip down the sides, but I just leave it clean around the sides because I think it looks really pretty with the crust and the cheesecake, and then you can see the glaze on top. And then once the glaze is spread out evenly, place the raspberries around the edges of the cheesecake. I love how easy it is to decorate this cake and get such beautiful results. The pretty berries just add a statement all on their own, and it looks so elegant. Plus, chocolate and raspberries are a perfect combination.